Today's video is about a curious and unusual thing that happened to me and my friends back in the day. And I'll say that it's a ghost story, and it's definitely a supernatural happening, and an event which we all remembered, we all saw, and other people saw it that night as well. And what it was exactly, we can't quite say. To which I will explain this as I tell you all about it. But it's one of those peculiar things that happens that leaves a mark on you and you never quite forget it. So today's video is about the curious haunting of the Coombs Wood Dark. Now, to set the scene, this particular wood is one which I grew up next to. When I was little, I used to open my bedroom curtains and I was literally a stone's throw away from it. It was the first thing I saw in the morning, and it's somewhere that I've been visiting my entire life. And it's strange that this particular night, that wood changed a little bit for me. Now, me and my friends, like many others back in the day, once this wood went from private ownership into the hands of the Suffolk Wildlife Trust, that's done an amazing job of making it so that the public can go and visit. It did used to be private at one point, but my family had access to it, but nobody else could go back in there when I was a child. But coming further forward in my life, because it's such a lovely place and it's a place of special scientific interest, so if you choose to visit, remember to be respectful when you're in there. But a lot of people used to go and visit, and a lot of people used to like staying the night in there, camping out. So me and my friends, there were 6 of us in total, and we decided that we were going to camp out the night there. And because there were 6 of us, and it was still quite overgrown at that point, there were certain areas that hadn't been cleared and was thick with brambles, and some of it was near on inaccessible. But we decided that we were going to go there, and we took a tarpaulin with us because we thought, well, there's 6 of us, and we heard there might be rain, and we put the tarpaulin up, and that was enough to shelter us. Now, where we were in the wood, depending on which entrance you use, the entrance we went in was the one which was more over on the right hand side, so not the one directly behind the church, but as you go around the wood and on the right hand side of the wood, you can go in that way. And there was a big old drive that went down there, and we went down there and we got so far, and then we took a right. And it was in that, I'd say that quarter of the wood there, we made our way through where all the branches had fallen down and there was bramble everywhere. But we wanted to get right in the thick of it so that we weren't going to get disturbed by anybody, because there was another group of people in there as well that they decided they were camping too. And there was lots of them, and there was only 6 of us, so we thought we'd get right out of the way. So we set up our tarpaulin, and we got our little camp fire going, you know, little gas jobby, because we were going to be cooking up things like sausages and bacon and tomato soup, the usual fare really when you go camping. And the sun was starting to come down, and we got the tarpaulin up just in time. We were all underneath it. You could hear a few little spits of rain coming through, but the sun was going down enough that you could see the colour of the sky changing through the trees, and beneath the canopy of the trees that was getting a lot darker, but you could still see through the trees. So we were all sitting on this log, and then one of my mates pointed out, what's that in the distance there? And we all looked, and in the distance we could see something dark. And we thought, oh, it's probably just somebody walking around, you know, having a walk in the woods at evening time, dusk time, that sort of thing. So we sat there all watching, and then we noticed it was coming towards us. And we couldn't make out the outline of it. like I say, the sun was going down and it was dusky and the light was fading. And we kept watching this thing because, I say thing because we thought it was a person, but as it was coming towards us in the distance, you still couldn't really see what the silhouette of this thing was. And we kept watching it, and then I think it dawned on us all at once that it was heading right towards us. And this thing was coming, and my mate said, hang on a minute, how come it's going through the trees? And that's when we realised that whatever was coming towards us was coming directly towards us. So normally, if there's a person walking in the woods, they would go from side to side, they would walk around the trees, they would step over branches, they would try and get through any of the bramble and the overgrown foliage that might be there. But no, this thing was coming directly towards us. And then, because, you know, we started looking at each other because we didn't really know what to say because it was a bit strange. And then one of my mates said, yeah, and it's not making any noise on the ground either. Which you would imagine, if somebody's walking through woodland, you can't do nothing without a twig snapping or a branch moving, or you hear the sounds of the footsteps coming across the forest floor. And no, it wasn't making any sound at all. So this thing that was coming towards us was a very tall black, I'll just say mass. You couldn't see through it. It seemed solid, and it was coming straight for us through any tree, through the bramble, just a direct course towards us. And as it was getting closer and closer, we realised just how tall this thing was, because I think we were kind of a little bit dumbstruck by it, really, because we should have been panicking more. But it wasn't until it was getting really close to us that we thought, well, one, this thing is just passing through the trees and the foliage. It's not making any sound on the ground, and it is getting bigger and bigger the closer it comes towards us. So this thing was just gliding, I suppose, through the woodland. And it got to a point where you realised, not too far away, this thing was about 10 foot tall and reasonably wide, but it gave the loose image of a silhouette of a person, but it was just so tall, and it was very dark. It was black in colour, and like I say, you couldn't see through it, and around the edges of it, it was all sort of misted and soft, so it didn't have a defined silhouette at all. So we knew we didn't have long to decide what on earth it was we wanted to do, because at the rate that this thing was coming towards us, we knew it was going to be straight on us within a few minutes. So we quickly gathered up what we could. We left the tarpaulin behind. We left loads of stuff behind, but we gathered up the important stuff. And we literally got all together, made sure that we held on to each other, sort of like by hand and stuff, and we just made a run for it. And we got all cut up by brambles, and we were stumbling over logs and branches, and we made a heck of a din getting out of there and away from that area, because we knew that thing, whatever it was gonna, well, we don't know what it was gonna do, but we know it was heading straight for us, and none of us were gonna wait around to find out what it was or what it was doing, or whether it even knew whether we were there or not, or we didn't know anything. All we knew is we got scared. We got really scared. So we managed to get out of the 𝐶𝐮𝐿 wood, and at that point we were getting into near enough darkness, and we went our separate ways. Some of us went off together, some went off on their own, and we went home. And it's funny because there were other people in the woods that night, and over the years other people have seen it. And it was only a short time afterwards that some of us bumped into the other people that were in the woods that night, and they saw it too. But the thing is, they saw it from a different angle because they were in a different part of the wood. So where we saw it coming towards us, they saw it in front of them, but gliding towards their left. So it passed in the distance, but in front of them. And what they were witnessing was that thing coming straight towards us and where we were camped out. Like I say, over the years I've spoken to many people who they've seen it as well, and to the people that were there that particular night, it's something which we reminisce about, and you can't help but mention it because it was one of them strange things that none of us ever forgot. So if you're in Coombs Wood, maybe at a certain time of evening when it's that half light coming and the sun is going down and the light is changing and the canopy's getting darker, and beneath the leaves and the branches and within the old pathways of that very old wood, maybe the atmosphere will be just right. Maybe the time of year has something to do with it, and that'll be just right. Or maybe you'll just be in there when those circumstances are just right for you to be able to see the Coombs Wood dark. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.